The 1994 McDonald's All-American team is one of the weaker ones of its era, boasting only one future NBA All-Star. And while I'm sure several good players probably should have made it in retrospect, there aren't any bigger omissions than Allen Iverson, who wasn't allowed to play due to his well-documented and frankly ridiculous high school incarceration. With that all said, let's take a look at what happened to every McDonald's All-American player from the 94 squad. Danny Fortson. Fortson grew up in Altoona in the same neighborhood as fellow future NBA player Doug West before heading to Pittsburgh for high school ball. Eventually, Fortson took his talents to Cincinnati to play for Bob Huggins' Bearcats. The 6'11 forward was built like a tank, with one opposing coach once quipping that he could do pull-ups on the player's arms and it wouldn't affect his shooting. He averaged 19 points and 9 rebounds a night over his 3 years in college. Fortson made the second-team All-American squad in '96 before jumping to the first team in '97 by averaging 21 points a night. The Bucks picked Fortson 10th overall in the '97 NBA draft, though they immediately traded him to the Nuggets for Earvin "Not Magic" Johnson. He was solid as a rookie, but became a double-digit machine in the lockout-shortened '99 season. Before the next year, he was traded to the Celtics, and the Big Daddy from Cincinnati's numbers fell off as he moved to the bench. In 2000, Boston traded him to Golden State. His season started well, but a stress fracture meant he only suited up for 6 games. The next year, Fortson was back to averaging a nightly double-double with 11.2 points and 11.7 boards. Unfortunately, that would be his final healthy season. Fortson missed all but 17 games in 02-03 and was traded to Dallas. He averaged about 11 minutes a night before being sent to Seattle. Fortson played 3 more injury-filled years with the Sonics, though he was also a fan favorite when healthy because of his physical play. Of course, that also meant my man got tons of technicals. With his playing time continually dropping, Fortson retired in 2007. Since then, he's largely stayed out of the public eye, instead focusing on his family. His daughter Kaylee is a 6'1 prospect in the 2025 class, with offers to schools like Akron, Bowling Green, and of course, Cincinnati. Adonal Foyle. Foyle was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but was adopted when he was 15 by 2 professors from Colgate. The 6'10 big played high school ball in Pennsylvania before heading to Colgate to play college ball. He quickly became a star in the Patriot League, averaging 20 points, 13 rebounds, and nearly 6 blocks a night across his 3-year collegiate career. Colgate made its first 2 NCAA tournament appearances, a feat it wouldn't match again until 2019. He decided to skip his senior season and entered the '97 draft, but earned his degree in history in '99. The Warriors selected him with the 8th pick in the draft. He struggled to get playing time during his first 2 seasons in Golden State, but became a starter in '99-2000. While he never averaged more than 6 points a night, he was a solid defensive presence, particularly off the bench during his 10 years in Golden State, even getting DPOY votes in 2002. Foyle eventually fell out of favor with head coach Don Nelson, and the team waived the big man. He spent a few more seasons in the NBA with the Magic and Grizzlies before missing the entire 2009-2010 season with injury and retiring. He quickly signed with the Magic as their director of player development, working there through 2012. While still playing, he founded a student organization called Democracy Matters, which is active on more than 50 college campuses. He's done a ton of philanthropy work over the years across several different organizations and is working in that field in the Bay Area as of 2024. Jelani Gardner. Gardner played his high school ball at St. John Bosco before starting his college career at Cal. The 6'6 guard was solid, averaging about 10 points and 5 assists during his first 2 years. However, his parents were not happy with his playing time, and they revealed that coach Todd Bozeman had paid them around $30,000 to attend Gardner's games over his 2 seasons at Cal. After that scandal broke, the coach was forced to resign, and Cal forfeited every game Gardner had played. The guard transferred to Pepperdine, where he averaged 14 points and 5 assists over 2 seasons. NBA teams were already a little weary of him heading into the '99 draft, but during his pre-draft physical, Gardner was revealed to have kidney disease. Ultimately, he went undrafted and started a long career playing overseas and in lower domestic leagues. In 2002, his kidney disease reached a critical stage. Thankfully, his mother was a match and he received a transplant that year. Gardner retired from playing in 2011 and quickly got into coaching at the high school level. His son Jazz is playing at Pacific in 2025 after a stint at Nevada, and his other son Jai is currently playing in France. Omm'a Givens. Givens left Washington State to attend UCLA. During his freshman season, the team won a national title, though Givens only played about 6 minutes a night. The 6'11 big's playing time didn't get much better in 95-96, and he decided to transfer to Pepperdine. After sitting out a year, Givens averaged about 8 points and 4 boards in 20 minutes a night. However, his season was full of controversy. Givens was suspended for 2 games after punching teammate Aaron Butler and breaking his jaw during practice. Soon after returning, he was suspended again, this time for the rest of the season. Givens left school with 1 year of eligibility and turned pro in '98. He went undrafted, but did play for several years in lower domestic leagues and in Puerto Rico. As of 2023, he's back in San Francisco. Interestingly, an article about him was published last year. There it was revealed that he's been offering security to residents around town, with Givens saying, quote, "If you're a senior citizen and you gotta walk to the pharmacy, I'll walk you there and I'll walk you back home." Lamarr Greer. Greer decided to move south to play college ball, spending his 4 years at Florida State. While never a star player for the Seminoles, the 6'5 guard was a steady starter throughout his career, averaging 9 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists a night. His best season came as a senior. He started every game and dropped 11 points a night to help lead FSU to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Greer went undrafted in '98, but spent the next 15 years playing overseas, with stops in Italy, Russia, Ukraine, Greece, Cyprus, Israel, Germany, and Finland. He retired after the 2013 season and moved back to New Jersey, where his son played at Camden. In 2021, Greer took over as the head coach at his high school alma mater, Middle Township. Zendon Hamilton. The 6'11 center took his talents to St. John for college ball, joining another guy we'll get to shortly. Hamilton starred for the Red Storm, averaging 16 points and 8 rebounds over his 4-year career. His best season came in 95-96, when he averaged 21 points and 11 boards as a sophomore. The 3-time All-Big East player went undrafted in '98 and moved overseas to play pro ball. By 2000, he'd worked his way into an NBA contract with the Clippers. He never got much consistent playing time in the NBA, but did spend parts of 6 seasons playing in the league. Hamilton's best stretch came in 01-02 with the Nuggets, when he averaged 6 points and 5 rebounds in 16 minutes a night. His last NBA action came in 2006 with the 76ers, and Hamilton played in various overseas leagues through 2012. Soon after leaving his playing days behind, Hamilton became an assistant coach in the G League. He also spent some time as an assistant at St. John's from 2014 to 2016, and was most recently working for the Clippers G League team in 2021. Chris Herren. Herren started his college career at Boston College. However, before he could play a game, he tested positive for drug use. Herren did play in a single game in '94, but he broke his wrist after dropping 14 points that night and was ruled out for the season. Over the next few months, Herren failed 2 more drug tests and was expelled from the university. He then transferred to Fresno State to play for Jerry Tarkanian. After sitting out a season, Herren averaged 17.5 points a night as a sophomore. However, he continued to struggle with addiction and spent 21 days in rehab in '98. Over his 3 years with the Bulldogs, he averaged 15 points and 5.4 assists despite the off-court issues. In the '99 draft, the Nuggets picked him in the second round. Herren spent 2 years in the NBA with Denver and Boston, averaging 3 points and 2.5 assists in around 14 minutes per game. He then spent the next 5 years playing overseas with stops in Italy, China, Poland, Turkey, Germany, and Iran. Notably, Herren once dropped 63 points in a game for the Beijing Ducks. After retiring in 2006, he continued to struggle with drugs, and in 2008, he overdosed and was legally dead for about 30 seconds. Thankfully, that incident served as a wake-up call, and Herren has been drug-free since '08. He's opened a few companies to help young players learn from his mistakes, and is working as a motivational speaker around the country as of 2024. If you want to learn more about his story, I'd suggest the ESPN doc Unguarded from 2011. His son played college basketball at Boston College and San Diego. Raef LaFrentz. LaFrentz joined Roy Williams' Kansas Jayhawks for college ball. The 6'11 big man was an instant starter, averaging 11 points and 7.5 rebounds as a freshman. The next year, Paul Pierce joined the squad, and the duo spent the next 3 seasons dominating in front of the Kansas faithful. For his part, LaFrentz made back-to-back first-team All-American rosters in 97 and 98. Kansas only lost 17 games during his 4 years with the school, but never captured a title. The Nuggets selected him with the 3rd pick in the 98 draft. Unfortunately, he only played in 12 games as a rookie due to a torn ACL. He came back healthy the next year and spent the next few seasons averaging double-digit points for Denver before being traded to Dallas midway through the 2002 season. During that stretch, he made some NBA history by totaling 5 threes and 5 blocks in 4 separate games, something no one else had done more than once up to that point. He spent the 03 season in Dallas and was traded to Boston before 04. Teaming back up with his college pal Paul Pierce, LaFrentz spent 3 seasons in Boston, playing well as a starter. In 06-07, he was traded to Portland, where he spent the last 2 seasons of his career, retiring in 2008. He's largely been out of the public eye in the years since, preferring to spend time with his family. He was volunteering as a coach for his son's team as of 2020, and his son Cale is a 2026 prospect with offers from Iowa and Nebraska. Trajan Langdon. Langdon was born in California, but moved to Alaska by the time he was playing high school ball. The 6'4 guard became the first Alaskan player to make the McDonald's roster in '94. For college, Langdon joined Duke. The Alaskan assassin averaged double-digit points as a freshman, but missed his sophomore season with a knee injury. He came back on a tear, averaging more than 14 points a night for his final 3 years of college ball. Langdon quickly became known as a three-point marksman, setting the Duke record for most career threes made until J.J. Redick bested him in 2006. Interestingly, Langdon was never under scholarship with the Blue Devils. During high school, he was selected in the 6th round of the '94 MLB draft. Because of eligibility rules, he played basketball during the school year and played in the minors during the summer. The Cavs picked Langdon 11th overall in the '99 draft. He played there for 3 seasons, averaging 5 points and about 15 minutes a night. In 2002, he left the NBA to play overseas. Langdon played professionally through the 2011 season, winning the EuroLeague twice and the Russian League 6 times, while winning a few MVPs over the years. After retiring in 2011, he joined the Spurs as a scout. In 2016, he was named the assistant GM for the Nets. 3 years later, he'd take over as the GM for the Pelicans. In 2020, Langdon was named the Pistons President of Basketball Operations. Felipe Lopez. Lopez and his family immigrated to the United States when he was 14, and he played high school ball in New York City at Rice. The 6'5 guard quickly became one of the hottest recruits in the nation, appearing on the cover of Sports Illustrated before ever playing in college. Lopez signed with St. John's, joining Hamilton with the Red Storm. As a freshman, Lopez dropped nearly 18 points a night. His numbers would drop slightly over the next 2 years, but not by much. As a senior, Lopez brought his scoring back to nearly 18 per night to slot in as the 4th best scorer in St. John's history. The Spurs selected him 24th overall in the '98 draft, but immediately traded him to the Vancouver Grizzlies. He averaged 9 points as a rookie, but his minutes went down in year 2. He was then traded to Washington, where he averaged about 8 points in 47 games before being waived. Lopez then signed with the Timberwolves, where he'd spend the next 2 years largely coming off the bench. Lopez was out of the NBA in 2002 after a knee injury, and he spent the next decade playing in lower domestic leagues and overseas. While he wasn't able to live up to his prodigious hype in the NBA, Lopez has spent his post-playing career giving back to the people in the Dominican Republic, constantly doing work there as an ambassador for NBA Cares. Corey Lewis. Lewis joined Greer at Florida State. The 6'9 center averaged 10.5 points, 7 boards, and nearly 2 blocks a night across his 4-year career. Like Greer, he never became a star at FSU, but he was a more than solid contributor, especially as a big-bodied defender. He did not play in the NBA, instead spending several years playing overseas. His daughter Corey was also a college athlete for the Noles. The 6'3 star played volleyball at Florida State. Willie Mitchell. Mitchell starred in the Detroit high school scene before joining the Michigan Wolverines for college ball as part of the second Fab Five, along with another player we'll get to shortly. The quintet was picked to take over for the original Fab Five. Mitchell averaged 5 points, largely off the bench, during his first 2 years on campus. He also missed some time during his sophomore year with a knee injury. However, the most notable thing that happened during his Michigan career took place in February '96. Mitchell was in a car crash with Maurice Taylor, recruit Mateen Cleaves, and Robert Traylor. As part of the investigation into the incident, the NCAA discovered that the group was returning from a party at the home of team booster Ed Martin. That would kick off the massive University of Michigan basketball scandal that would see the university vacate most of its wins from the Fab Five era. Mitchell was only tangentially involved in the case, as he hadn't received large sums of money to attend Michigan. He decided to transfer to UAB after the season. With the Blazers, Mitchell became a double-digit scorer, but went undrafted in '98. The 6'8" forward played overseas for several years and did a few stints in the CBA. As of 2023, he's back in Michigan, working with youth in various basketball camps and programs. Norman Nolan. The 6'9" Nolan left Paul Lawrence Dunbar to attend Virginia. As a freshman, he played sparingly, but Nolan became a consistent starter as a sophomore, averaging 9.5 points and 7 rebounds. He continued to build on those numbers over the next 2 years, eventually jumping to 21-9 as a senior, leading the team in both categories. Nolan went undrafted, but quickly started a long career playing overseas, with stops in Italy, Greece, Spain, and France. After hanging him up, Nolan started his second career as the leader of various basketball camps and programs. As of 2024, he runs the Norman L. Nolan Basketball Academy in California. Andrae Patterson. Patterson was born in California, but the 6'9" forward played high school ball in Abilene, Texas. He moved states once again for college ball, playing for Bobby Knight at Indiana. Patterson started about half his games as a freshman before solidifying his spot in the starting lineup in '95-96. He became a double-digit scorer, averaging 11 points, nearly 6 rebounds, and a block a night over his 4-year career at IU. The Timberwolves picked him in the second round of the '98 draft. Over 2 years, Patterson played in 40 total games, averaging 3 points in about 8 minutes per night. He then played overseas through the 2009 season, making stops in Spain, Croatia, and Greece. Soon after retiring, he became an assistant coach at UT Martin. In 2014, he joined the Idaho Stampede staff in the G League. He's since moved into a front office role, most recently taking a job as an assistant GM for the Trailblazers in 2022. Ricky Price. Price took his game to Duke alongside Langdon, and one more guy we'll get to shortly. Price started about half of his games as a freshman, averaging 8 points a night. The 6'6" guard had his best season as a sophomore, starting nearly every game and raising his scoring to 14 per night. Unfortunately for him, Rashawn McLeod transferred in from St. John's before the season, and Price's minutes and points fell off slightly. He continued to tumble down the rotation as a senior, averaging just 3 points in 8 minutes per game. Price wasn't drafted, but did spend several seasons playing overseas until hanging him up in 2006. He then spent some time working as a sports agent before getting into basketball camps and becoming a motivational speaker. He continues to work in both fields as of 2024. Neil Reed. Reed was born in Arkansas, but started his high school career in Indiana before moving to Louisiana. For college, he joined Patterson at Indiana University under Bob Knight. He played there for 3 seasons, growing into a 13 points a night scorer in '96-97. However, he left the university after the season and transferred to Southern Mississippi. Later, it was revealed that Coach Knight had choked him during a '97 practice, which would eventually play a part in the longtime coach being dismissed in 2000. At Southern Miss, Reed averaged 18 points a night. He didn't make an NBA roster, and after working as an intern for ESPN The Magazine, Reed got into coaching in California. Sadly, Reed passed away in 2012 at just 36 years old. Kareem Reid. Reid left New York to play at Arkansas under Nolan Richardson. He had to sit out a year because of his low ACT score, but jumped into the starting lineup in '95-96 to average 13 points, 6.6 assists, and 2 steals per game. He continued to play well throughout his 4-year career, though his freshman season would go down as his best statistically. Reid went undrafted in '99, so he quickly jumped into playing in the lower-level domestic leagues. That included a year-long stint with the Globetrotters in the early 2000s. He did play some with the Hornets, but didn't make the final roster. Reid also spent a big chunk of time playing for Fat Joe's Terror Squad at Rucker Park. There, he earned his nickname, the Best Kept Secret, and once led his squad to a come-from-behind victory in the Entertainers Classic over Baron Davis and Gilbert Arenas. As of 2024, he's still hooping, but mostly working as a youth coach in various camps and programs. Curtis Staples. Staples was another in a long line of players who went through the halls of Oak Hill Academy in Virginia before heading to college. He joined Nolan at the University of Virginia. With the Cavs, Staples immediately showed his worth as a bucket getter, averaging 14.4 points across his career and topping out at 18 a night as a senior. Staples was a lethal three-point shooter, taking as many as 11 per game in 97-98. He finished his NCAA career with the all-time record for most three-pointers made. J.J. Redick would eventually break the record in 06, with Staples in attendance. While he went undrafted in 98, Staples spent 8 years playing overseas. After retiring from the game, Staples started coaching at the youth level. As of 2024, he's working at a private school in Tennessee. Antoine Walker. Walker played his high school ball with future NFL star Donovan McNabb. He signed with Kentucky to play under Rick Pitino. The star-studded Wildcats had 5 future NBA players on their roster when Walker joined, but he still made a mark with 8 points and 4.5 boards a night. The next year, he raised his numbers to 15 and 8, helping starting guard Tony Delk lead Kentucky to an NCAA title. Walker gave up his final 2 years of eligibility to enter the '96 draft. The Celtics picked him 6th overall. He again made an instant impact, leading the team in scoring at 17.5 a night to finish 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. The next season, his college coach Rick Pitino took over as the Celtics coach, and Walker made his first All-Star team behind 22 points and 10 boards per game. In 98-99, Boston drafted Paul Pierce, and the two would form a potent duo for the next 6 years, with Walker making 2 more All-Star teams in 02 and 03. Another of his former friends joined the Celtics in 2002 when Delk was traded to Boston. Delk and Walker were traded to the Mavericks 10 days before the start of the 2004 season. Walker's numbers dropped significantly on the star-studded Dallas squad. Before the next season, Walker was traded again, this time to the Hawks. Interestingly, this marked the second time he and Delk were traded together. Walker averaged 20 points in 53 games in Atlanta before he was traded back to the Celtics. After that season, Walker was sent to the Heat, where he'd spend the next 2 years. During that stretch, he helped the team win a title in 2006. Despite coming off the bench for most of that season, he started 23 games in the playoffs and led the team in three-pointers made. His production fell off the next season, and he was eventually traded to the Timberwolves in 2007. He played in several games in Minnesota and was sent to Memphis during the offseason before being waived. Walker then spent a few seasons playing overseas and in the D-League, retiring in 2012. During his playing career, Walker had several off-court incidents, including quite a few gambling issues that led to him filing for bankruptcy in 2010. Thankfully, Walker was debt-free as of 2013 and is working as a broadcaster for Fox Sports as of 2024. Jerod Ward. Ward was widely seen as one of the top players in this class and joined Mitchell at Michigan. During his first 2 seasons, Ward struggled to stay healthy, missing all but 10 games during his sophomore season. He'd finally become a starter in 96-97, averaging 8 points and 3.5 rebounds. As a senior, he improved those numbers to 13 and 6, but it wasn't enough for him to get selected in the 98 draft. Ward would head to the CBA for a few years before moving overseas to play through the 2011 season. His career included stops in the Philippines, Croatia, France, South Korea, China, and Japan. Since hanging him up, Ward has done some work as a college basketball analyst and works as a motivational speaker based in Florida. Steve Wojciechowski. Wojo was the 3rd player in this class to sign with Duke. He played solid minutes during his first 2 seasons, but focused more on facilitating better players like Cherokee Parks and Jeff Capel. As a junior, Wojo became an everyday starter and raised his game to average 7 points, 5 assists, and 2.5 steals a night. During his senior season, he would fill that same role as a steady hand, finishing the year as the NABC Defensive Player of the Year. As of 2024, he's still in 8th in Duke history for career steals and assists. After wrapping up his collegiate career, Wojo played 1 year in Poland before joining the Duke staff as an assistant. He worked there through the 2014 season, coaching up front court players like Shane Battier, Sheldon Williams, Carlos Boozer, and Jabari Parker, among many others. Wojo was also an assistant for the U.S. national team from 2006 to 2014, helping them win 2 Olympic gold medals. In 2014, he was hired as the head coach at Marquette. He coached there through 2021, when he was fired after making only 2 NCAA tournament appearances in 7 seasons. As of 2024, he's coaching the Jazz's G League team. Lorenzen Wright. Fair warning, this one gets pretty dark. Wright was born in Mississippi, but moved to Memphis during his senior year of high school. Interestingly, Wright's middle name was Vern Gagne, so his pops was probably a big pro wrestling fan. Speaking of the elder Wright, his father played pro ball in Finland, so it wasn't a huge surprise when the 6'11 youngster showed an aptitude for the game. He'd eventually signed to play college ball at Memphis. He was a stud from the jump, averaging 15 points, 10 boards, and 2 blocks a night as a freshman. He raised those numbers to 17, 10, and 2 as a sophomore to make the second-team All-American squad. Wright decided to jump to the NBA after the season. The Clippers selected him 7th overall in the '96 draft. He got solid PT in LA, averaging 7 points and 7 boards during his 3 years with the team. Wright was traded to the Hawks before the 99-2000 season. During his time there, Wright grew into a double-digit scorer, dropping 12.4 points per game in 2001. He was then traded to the Grizzlies ahead of the 2002 season, the same year the team moved to Memphis. He played there for 5 years, averaging 9.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and nearly a block and steal a night. Wright eventually made his way back to Atlanta in 2006, spending a year and a half there before jumping to the Kings and Cavs to finish his career. Soon after retiring in 2009, Wright went missing from his home in Collierville, Tennessee, a Memphis suburb. 6 days later, his body was discovered in a wooded area. The crime went unsolved for 7 years. In 2017, authorities found a gun in a lake in Mississippi that was believed to be the weapon used to kill Wright. A man named Billy R. Turner was indicted on first-degree murder charges. Soon after, Wright's ex-wife, Shara Wright Robinson, was also arrested in connection with the crime. In 2019, Wright Robinson pleaded guilty to facilitation of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. On a more positive note, his son Lorenzen Wright Jr. played college ball at Robert Morris and UT Martin. Sorry to end on such a downer, but that officially wraps up the 1994 class. I'll get to the 95 class in a few weeks, but if you have any ideas for videos you'd like to see, please share them in the comments.